We are now joined by Feargal in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, it's just disgusting, isn't it, actually?
It
what's
is
been happening?
just horrific. Now, we had known that in terms of our rivers and the environment, every river in the country is polluted. One of the biggest sources of that pollution is the water industry. But I think as we're now getting a better understanding, thanks to you guys and this film, the impact it's now having on just normal people going about their lives, trying to run local businesses, the oyster farm, the fish and chip shop, people running local hotels, just trying to get on with their lives, and the impact it's now having on local communities. And it is unbelievable. It is outrageous.
I can't believe we're having to deal with this in this day and age, actually.
2023
this
seems
is
extraordinary,
an issue.
doesn't it?
Well, here's the thing. The law's been in place for 30 years. The simple truth of the matter is, as the House of Lords pointed out 2 weeks ago, this is clearly a result of underinvestment by the water companies. They've been allowed to do it by the regulators, and the whole oversight and regulation of this industry has clearly collapsed.
So you've been out investigating. We should just explain, because we have this in the studio. This is the sample that you took from the sea in Whitstable. Ben has got to wear a glove to even touch this. We can smell it from here. Just talk us through what this is and what it shows.
This is a local community group that's been testing regularly down on Tankerton Beach. The sample should be yellow all the way across. There's 5 compartments in there.
So, yeah, the fourth one is what it should look like if it was uncontaminated.
It's measuring the levels of E. coli and therefore an indicator of faeces in the water. This is on the beach, literally a foot off the beach itself, in the seawater. That scored 28. The scale runs from 0 to 32. In North America, if it scored 32, they would automatically close the beach and shut it down within 20 minutes. That scored 28. That, from my understanding, indicates high risk, probably unsafe. You need to get your children or get yourself out of that water the day we were there.
And Feargal, you filmed with a couple of guys that were swimming in the sea, not far from where you took that sample?
Yes. Actually, as it happened, when we began filming that morning at 8 o'clock, the sewage overflow at that point started dumping sewage into the sea, and it ran for 5 hours that day while we were there. While we were filming those wild swimmers, there was a little group of ladies of a certain age. I suspect it's a regular little event that they get together on a Friday morning, have a cup of coffee, bit of a chat, go for a swim. And I have to admit, I was torn as to whether or not to go over and go and have a quiet word and simply go, you know what, I have to tell you, I would not be in there.
Do you know what you're swimming in? Listen, we're supposed to be hearing these figures later today, aren't we, from the Environment Agency, the latest set of storm overflow spill data covering last year. It's expected to show a reduction, but still, of course, a huge amount. And also, bearing in mind, a lot of places aren't monitored.
Well, here's the thing. I would ask everybody to bear in mind, last year we were in a drought. Officially this morning, Cornwall and East Anglia is still in drought. So these things are not supposed to be used at all, except in exceptional situations. So if there's any reduction, I suspect that's more down to the fact it didn't rain.
Not actually action being taken to prevent
it, then? Because what we do know is that the 2 years that we have data, water companies spent almost 6 million hours over those 2 years on over 750,000 separate occasions dumping sewage into the environment. From the data we have, we know that water companies, on average, over those 2 years, dumped sewage into the environment, on average, over 1,000 times a day.
Why?
I don't expect it to change that much.
The extraordinary thing is, as Charlotte was saying, it seems bizarre that we're talking about this now. I can remember all my holidays were down in Cornwall in the 80s and the 90s, and there were real problems with the beaches, and there was a Surfers Against Sewage was a really big thing, and there was a huge push to clean up our beaches. And we started getting blue flag beaches and beaches sort of notorious around the world for being the cleanest they could possibly be. How has this happened? Who's responsible? How can we stop it?
Well, listen, ultimately it is because of lack of political oversight. To remind
because they just don't care?
Well, here's the curious thing. The UK government was actually taken to court in 2012 by the European Commission and found guilty of breaching the sewage regulations. So government's known about this for at least a decade, and they clearly haven't taken the action they should have. The regulators have made, from what I can see, in my perception personally, little effort to actually enforce the law. The legislation's all there. All of the legal framework exists. They just have not done enough to enforce it. And according to the House of Lords, it's because of the lack of investment by the water companies in the sewage system.
And is that your understanding of it as well?
Oh, listen...
I mean, because the water companies are still making a profit, I assume?
Oh, well, here's the real stinger. It transpires that Ofwat, the regulator, have actually confirmed to the water companies, in the regulator's opinion, we, the customers, have provided all of the funding they've needed for 30 years to fix the sewage system. We've given them the money out of our pockets. We paid for this. Did not happen. What happened to money? Why wasn't it dealt with? My perception at this point in time, DEFRA has lost control of this. The regulators clearly cannot regulate this industry. I personally think this is going to start costing government votes at the next election. Mr. Prime Minister, you need to sit up and start paying attention to what's going on here.
That's a good point. I mean, there's been so much upset. You know, loads of people always get in touch with us just staggered about the fact that
it can actually happen.
You can't go swimming in the sea, you can't go swimming in a river because of the risk, as we see here, the risk that, you know, that would make you ill.
I'm afraid my advice to people right now, bear in mind that the Easter holidays are weeks away.
The season's about to open, right?
Correct. You mentioned Surfers Against Sewage. They do a fantastic little app that you can download for your mobile phone. As best as we can right now, it shows on beaches almost real-time information where the sewage and pollution spill is going on. And it's a dreadful thing for me to say. I would strongly recommend every parent go and download that Surfers Against Sewage app.
Just so
and particularly if you think you're heading to the coast during the Easter holidays.
We've got a few statements from some of the people that we've been talking about. Southern Water have said they are spending £25 million in Whitstable alone to improve our performance and are working extremely hard to drive down storm overflows, while the Department for the Environment and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, have said they will be launching a consultation on increased penalties for polluters, including fines up to £250 million.
The trouble is, all this takes time, doesn't it? People want action now to stop this.
They've known about this for 30 years. They were found guilty in court 10 years ago. And the £250 million, I'm intrigued, because the current chairman of the Environment Agency is on public record. He referred to that level of file as, and I am quoting, crazy. I suspect DEFRA may want to go and have a word with the chair of the Environment Agency. He doesn't seem to think it's that good an idea.
Well, listen, Feargal, well done for all the campaigning you're doing, for all the investigations you've been doing. You know, we will have you back, because obviously this is something that's going to...
Could you take your sample with you, though?
Going, I know, yeah. It's sticking out the studio.
Lovely to see you.
You're a braver man than I, because if I was going to touch this, I would want a full biochemical hazard set up. Can I just say thank you to you guys and to all of the team of people that helped with me with that little clip down in Whitstable. They were fantastic, and I really appreciate it.
Well, it's such an important thing to highlight. You know, we're happy to do so because something needs to be done.
And we will keep supporting, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.